Hey, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. This is ACDC, Araceli and Colette, the dynamic change. Ooh, today we have a very interesting question. And my name is Araceli. I'm a transition wealth advisor. And I do believe that every transition in life doesn't have to be financially devastating if you do have a plan. So if there's anybody out there that is going through any transition like divorce, separation, or losing a loved one, uh, you may want to review your finances at that time. And that's what I help people with. So I'm here with my partner, Colette. Colette, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I can't believe I'm wearing a sweater and it's like the end of June, but whatever, that's okay. We're inside, it doesn't matter. My name is Colette Raba. I am a real estate broker in the GTA. I like to work in the West End, so anywhere from Etobicoke, Mississauga. I go to Brampton. I go all the way up to Niagara and even Cambridge in some for some very special clients. So
That's
I
nice.
yeah, so I'm really we both Aerosol and I both love the industry. We love buying and selling real estate and investing too, and that's how we got together. We've
Yeah.
always liked to talk about real estate and investing. But why we're talking about condos today is because the market has been, as I'm sure many people know, it's been a little bit crazy. But some people are still not sure about condos and if they are a good investment because if you can't, really, what is the average price nowadays for the GTA for a detached home? $1 million
At least, yeah.
at least, right? So, and this is also in the underlying places too. Mississauga, obviously, even Brampton.
Yeah.
You'd be hard pressed to find something under 800, let's say,
Yeah.
the
So
end of sevens. Yeah.
I know. So today we're going to talk about two different things. One is if you are going to be living in this condo or if you are buying it as an investment. So Colette, if I'm going to live in a condo, right, what is your recommendation? Is this a good idea, not a good idea?
Wow, I think, okay, I love this because Araceli and I, we like to talk about things a little bit before we do the show, but also at the same time, we like to keep things light and actually just off the cuff. So, the interesting thing, the one thing I really wanted to say about living in a condo, you have to live somewhere, right? Like we all can agree on that. So,
Absolutely.
even if you can't qualify for the top, really, really low interest rates these days at 2% or 2.5 or 3%, even if you get a secondary, like a B lender to offer you a 5%, let's say 5% loan for a mortgage on a property. If you know the area is increasing every year between 8, 10, 15, it's crazy. It was a crazy year for real estate this year. So if you know that area's growth is more than the percentage that you're paying on your mortgage,
Mhm.
it's a pretty safe bet that if you have to go sell it, and we always say hold as long as you can. So it's a pretty safe bet to say, okay, we want to live here for 5 years
Mhm.
in this condo. And sorry, my background happens to be a New York condo by a very famous person. I don't know if I
Yeah.
said that last time on the show.
Yeah.
That's a whole other that's a whole
Well,
other topic.
so Colette, my background is also a home of a very famous person.
Oh, who?
Guess.
I know who it is. Yeah,
That was a joke. Anyway, so this is actually my home in the background. So that's what I'm saying.
but
I'm
it's
hoping
beautiful.
to
Right.
be very, very famous one day. So,
Yes, we are always we're all famous
of
already.
course,
Just other people have to know about
that's
it.
right. Exactly. So,
Yeah.
anyway, so one thing that I wanted to tell you about condos, and that if you are thinking about that, maybe this is not the ideal situation for you, but if you're able and you have saved the down payment and you
Yeah.
qualify, please do it because the restrictions are becoming more and more and more in order to buy. So it's getting harder and harder to do. So I would say that if just think about it as a stepping stone, right? And if
Absolutely.
you already own, and believe me, this year was hard for a lot of people on COVID. I'm telling you because I know people that were renting and that the landlord decided to sell the property, and now you don't have a place to live anymore. And every time that you rent, and you're always basically at the mercy of the landlord. If they
Right.
decide to sell or change it or use the place instead than renting it, then now you're out of luck. And now, if you have been renting for a while, you're not going to find a comparable rent amount.
Right. And
So,
this is the interesting thing too, that, of course I don't have a crystal ball, but, listening to other industry professionals and banking professionals too, that know what the Bank of Canada, what their overall economic forecast is. This is so important to everybody, not just condo owners, but when you look at the growth in the GTA, let's just talk about the GTA, if not the world. But
yeah,
let's say you have so many people coming into Canada, and yes, we had a little bit of a break because the airports were closed down a little bit, but there's always a new influx of people coming
oh,
in.
there's going to be a ton of people coming in
And
as soon as
where
the
are they going
border opens.
to live? Where are they going to live?
Yeah.
So this is the thing that, when I know I'm getting a little off topic here, but when you look at new immigrants coming in, the government does give them a stipend for the first year, I believe, and to pay for housing, to pay for food, things like that when they come in, especially if they're refugees. But this is the funny thing. Let's just take that out of the equation and say, okay, we have lots of people even here already.
Yeah.
Kids are getting older. They want to move out of their parents' house. People need to commute and they don't want to commute anymore. They need to be closer to their workplace.
Yeah.
There's so many reasons why people move, either to be closer to family or work, or they want to get out of the city. And that's what COVID has sort of, this anomaly of COVID, people have decided to work from home, or they're allowed to work from home, and they can live pretty much anywhere. So they're moving out maybe 2 hours out of the GTA, and that's totally fine. They're allowed to do that. So that's why there has been so much growth in the surrounding areas too. And because it's Toronto, it just is just not affordable to a lot of people. I'm not talking about people who don't have $700,000, $800,000, $900,000. They want more money. They want more bang for their buck. Like that's really what it comes to, where you say, look I want this value. I want a house. I want a backyard. I want, more than one bathroom, things like that. Condos might not be worth it for them, or if they can't afford to get into the condo market. But guess what? We all have to start somewhere.
Yep.
That's what we all do. You get your budget, you figure out how much you're going to be able to buy.
Yep.
And don't forget about the maintenance fees, because maintenance fees can put you over the edge in some buildings. And that's the bad thing about condos. Maintenance fees are different for every building. So you have to know what you're paying for with the maintenance fees. Sometimes hydro is included in your maintenance fees, or taxes. So you really have to decide how much, that's the weird thing with the price too. Price is lower if the maintenance fee is higher. So things like that, you really have to do your research. Also, always get a buying agent that can read these things and explain it to you before you make an offer. The other thing too, you got to live somewhere, right? So might as well start somewhere, live where you want. Like, what's the first rule of, no, actually, the first rule of real estate is to just get started. The second rule of real estate is location, location, location. Or maybe it's one or the other, I'm not sure. But location, if you know you want to live in this area, in a certain area that you really like, maybe, it's closer to your work, things like that. And if there is something in your budget in that area, you will be much happier than if you find a location that you're not so crazy about and you're only buying based on price.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, you know what? Sometimes we all have to make choices, and you may not have the perfect place, whether it's the location or the size, right? But if you start somewhere, you might, if you adapt, and obviously, take a look at your finances, because I think the major hurdle right now that most people are going through is that they don't have enough down payment because of the prices so high.
Right.
But if you're able to find it, whether it is, your parents are helping you, a family member, maybe you came into some money, or you have saved, quite a bit of your income. If you have a spouse, and you have managed to have a budget that works for you, I think it's worth it, because when you are in your own place, you can make modifications just like I did here in the background, which I never did in a place when I rented, right? Like, even though I wanted it. And I think those little things that make your place being a palace, because that's how I kind of feel. Doesn't matter how big or small it is, if you make it your own, then you are happy. And I think that happiness is not about the place, but it's about what you have in here, and that you feel good about where you are.
I
But
love
it's
that.
also a little bit of sacrifice sometimes to get started. And I'm telling you, I am so glad that I made some of the sacrifices that I made when I started buying. And I bought a lot of property, and I lost properties, and I sold a loss, and because of different things that were happening in my life. But I am so glad that I did make a little bit of a sacrifice to buy my first investment property and go to the States and do the same thing. And it's always about what you want to do in the future. If you keep kind of like the goal in mind,
Right.
it's a lot easier to do the things that you need to do.
Well,
So,
the other thing too is like we're not saying it's not scary. Like
oh,
it's the biggest purchase of your life
yeah,
usually,
yeah,
unless you're I don't know what you're buying an airplane or I don't know what else you'd be buying in that price range. But that's the thing where we all realize that if we can do it, oh my God, that's incredible. Like do it. There's really the way it is in Canada is a little bit different in the States too.
yeah,
And the Canadian government knows not to let people overextend themselves financially. So if you know you can afford the monthly payments, including your maintenance fees,
yeah,
including everything, your utilities and everything else, like this is something that you can feel confident knowing. And that's Araceli says it all the time, know your finances first. You can't do anything without knowing what your budget is, how much you're comfortable paying. And I keep hearing the story over and over with COVID that people are not going to restaurants. They don't have to travel. So they're saving on their
that's
transportation
right.
costs. They've sold their car. They don't have car insurance
Yeah,
anymore. So all these little things added up and gave them a nice down payment. So it's funny how things work out sometimes, but
yeah,
really, um, just going for it sometimes. Sometimes your worst enemy. You don't want to
yeah.
add a stuff.
Yeah, but it's just, remember, if you are not sure whether you can or can, talk to some professionals, talk to realtors, talk to Colette. She knows a lot about different things that you could do, right? And or talk to myself if you don't know how to start saving for
Right.
the next property. But that's enough about that. So that is really great. Now, what happens if you already have a property and you want to invest in condos, right?
Yes. Okay. So I love talking about that as an investment because I also I'm a little trepidatious when it comes to buying a resale condo because there are a couple different ways to invest. So with a new development, or if you go directly to the builder
Mhm.
and you buy it, you put down certain amounts of money during the time that it's being built, and then you can even assign the property before it closes, which means you don't have to pay HST. And if you think it's going to take 3 years and you think the area is going to grow, let's say 5 to 10% every year, then technically speaking, you should
Yeah,
make money even without moving in,
that's
without
right.
even closing on the property. So when people talk about going to the developer and the builder, that's great, but we don't know what's down in the next 3 years, how it's going to go, how the builder's going to proceed. Sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes builders get into trouble financially and shut the whole thing down.
Yeah,
So you have to be prepared for that. You have to know what that looks like. You have to be not just financially understanding of the whole process, but also legally, how legally binding that process is. But I don't know what the statistic is. It's pretty safe to say the building will be built.
Yeah.
If it's the right builder, if you do your due diligence, if you make sure that, you know, the builder has a good reputation, that's very important too.
Mhm.
So yeah, I really like the idea of buying directly from the builder. The earlier you can buy, the better.
Mhm.
Because what happens, the builder has an offer for his friends and family, or she does, or he does, they do have a friends and family, and then they have another tier, and then they have another tier to the public.
Mhm.
So generally speaking, that's how it works. So if you're buying as a general public, you're going to pay more than the friends and family rate. They might be giving a free, let's say, parking spot for
Mhm.
friends and family, or you can save on something else, or the square footage, or the finishes. Let's say they give incentives to the different tiers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you have to be prepared. And the thing is, remember, investing is for the long term.
yes,
You know, we keep saying about 7 to 10 years,
yeah,
whether you want to do something, and you know, it all goes back the same thing to your finances. What is your financial position? And have a couple of options if you decide to do something with a builder, because you know that if it's going to take 2 years, but what happens if they don't finish in 2 years?
right.
Now, are you able to continue to have that money there? Or were you counting on assigning this? And assigning, it means that you are able to sell it to somebody else and you don't have to close on it.
Yeah.
But if
So
it's not, if you want to have the option to keep it, would you be able to get the rent that you want and support? Maybe it's going to go into cash flow negative, right? That means that you have to put money into it
yeah.
every month. Is that what you like to do? And can you
But you have to
support
be
that?
prepared. You know, that's the other thing too. Again, we don't have crystal balls. Do you have a crystal ball? I don't think so.
No, 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 not yet.
So to ask a realtor to say, okay, what's the cash flow on the property, or you know, what kind of let's say after it's built, what kind of rent can I expect from this kind of
Mhm.
property? And when you know if you don't know the whole thing about cash flow, and you know, let's say that the rent is 1,000, or let's say your maintenance fee is $1,000. Simple math, and your mortgage rate is $1,000 a month. So if you can only get a renter in there for $1,800 a month,
Mhm.
you know you're out, right? Let's just say never mind taxes and everything else.
Yeah.
So if it's something that you realize, okay, I really want to, I don't care about all that stuff. I just want somebody to be in there and pay like as much as they can
Yeah.
for the property, but I will make my money when I go to sell it.
Hmm.
So that's the tricky part, to say, okay, how long do I need to hold on to it? And then when you really do your spreadsheet about that every year, if you're going to be negative cash flow, how much do you have to sell it for, and when
Yeah.
to actually make it worthwhile?
That's what I was going to say, that to make sure that you just, first of all, are you comfortable with the amount that you have to pay every month? Some investors, they just say, well, if my mortgage is covered, I've been taking care of the maintenance fees and the condo fees and the taxes, the insurance that all landlords have to have, right? But at
Right.
the same time, if you are dependent on a job that might not be so secure, and now you are out all this money and then you don't have a job anymore, can you do it, right?
Right. Right.
So all of those questions you need to answer, because everybody's so different.
Yeah.
And, you know, I cannot answer that for you. And also, that's kind of like the risk level that you want to take. And
Right.
you're thinking, you know, oh, well, this condo is going to appreciate this much. I'm going to keep it for 4 or 5 years. For sure, do a due diligence on paper. You know,
Right. And
because
you
on
carry
paper,
it.
you can always do whatever you want before you actually buy it.
Well,
And you
and
have
there's always,
options, right?
right, and there's always that possibility that you're going to have vacancies too, and it might be
Hmm.
not just for a month or two, it might be for a long time. So right now there's an influx of condos and a lot of rent, a lot of places to rent right now, because people have been moving out of town. So that's another anomaly that nobody was expecting.
Hmm.
So it is coming back though, like the market is coming back because
Yeah,
people are going back to work
yeah,
now. People are moving back to the city only because they have no choice and they want to be close to work. So it's a very interesting time. I don't think anybody could really
project, yeah.
forecast
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the thing is, you know what, the predictions sometimes might not seem logical because a lot of people thought that maybe real estate now was going to go down because of COVID, people not working, but it
right,
has been the opposite. So, really, there's a lot of a speculation, I call it, but just go with your gut. Sometimes you just have to say, and with real estate, to me, in my opinion, is if you're able to do it,
right.
do it because
Yeah, I agree.
real estate
But
is
the other thing too is
right.
go with your gut, but get your experts behind you.
Absolutely, like you don't like make an educated decision. It's not like jump at it,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah. If it's too good to be true, you know that there's something going on.
yeah, know your numbers.
Right. And the other thing too, like there's something I really, really believe, I think that's why I love being in this industry, because there is something for everyone. There really is. You know, I don't want to say like, oh, is that person who bought the alley, house in for $1 million? Like, okay, sometimes we have to make
Yeah.
a little bit of a, consignment of what
Yeah,
we.
and another actually, I had a friend that told me, says, "Well, I think I just missed the boat, and I'm behind the eight ball." And you know what? You can only start where you are.
Exactly. Yeah.
So don't feel that way because 20 years ago, nobody would have predicted what it is today.
Shoulda, coulda,
What is
woulda.
it going to be in 20 years from now? You said, oh my God, I should have bought something 20 years ago, which is now,
Right.
because this appreciated at, this
Think about
much.
right, exactly. Think about saying that in 20 years from today and say, I could have, shoulda, coulda, woulda. Should have done it, could have done it. Like this is the thing with real estate, and the fundamental truth is that you have to live somewhere. So if you're to go back to what we were talking about before, instead of investing, if you want to be an investor, invest in yourself and invest in a place that you love. That's ultimately the first thing that I would tell everybody to do.
Mhm.
Find a place that you love to be in, feel
Yeah.
secure about your decisions, be your own person. Like, you're in charge of your own life. So uh, try. It's something that really, it's very fulfilling. It really is. So I know it's scary,
Yeah.
but
Well,
if it's a condo,
anything that is new is scary at first, right? And
of
you don't know what you
course,
don't know until you're in it, right?
right, of course. Yeah,
And that is very important. So we're just here to reassure you that whatever decision you make, you always have an expert in Colette, right? So to guide you through what you could buy, right?
thank you.
And
Yeah,
if you
you
don't
too.
know how to start saving or how it could work out, talk to me and see if we can figure out somewhere like we can get the money and or to start saving for it, how long it's going to take you, all of those kind of things that are important. And it does the really life that you want. Some people, they just want to travel the world. They don't live anywhere, right? And it's
Exactly.
all
Yeah.
okay. You got to look at your lifestyle and if it fits you.
Right.
Condos, I mean, telling you, for my own personal opinion, I don't like them very much as an investment. And the main reason is because I cannot control the condo fees.
Yeah. The
Condo
maintenance
fees
fee.
are very volatile sometimes, that they go
Yeah.
from one year to another, depending on where you're buying and how old the condo is. And to me, I like to have at least certain amount of control of what the expenses are going to be.
Right.
So
Well,
that is the only thing that I can tell you when it comes down for investment and holding.
I agree with you.
I like the idea of having like a condo, a pre-built, because especially if your strategy is not closing and just assign it 2 or 3 years
Right.
later.
Right.
But it's all, I know people that have done it and they're very successful at it.
Right.
I don't personally buy condos for investments, but I think that there's something to look at, especially in this type of market that we're living in.
Of course. Well, and that's the funny thing with young people too. If there's somebody who, they finished university and they're still living at home and they can invest in a condo that
Yeah,
they can assign in 3 years, but still live in their parents' house, and they really, if you have that few $1,000s to spend on
that
rent,
would be fantastic.
instead of you,
Yeah.
yeah, so something like that where and this is the funny thing too. I have clients whose kids are now at a certain age too, that they're in their early 20s, and they can't afford it on their own. But if the two of them get together and put money into a new build, that might be exceptional for both of them to say, okay, let's just start this way and have a little bit of money, we put aside every month. It'll help you with getting that discipline down too, to say, okay, I know I have to make this much money every month. You have a partner, so either if it's your sibling or if it's a not a maybe boyfriend or girlfriend, or even friends getting together doing this is something there's so many possibilities to just get started, and it doesn't have to be in your market either. If you want to buy somewhere because the numbers work out, buy somewhere else. Talk to us. Like, this is the thing that we sorry, I'm being distracted because there's one thing that I really wanted to say about an article that I read. I think we should talk about it next time. But something about people buying without a buying agent really, I'd like to say it's like if you go to court and there's one lawyer to
no lawyer. Oh yeah, don't do it. And the thing is, you know what? A lot of people that are selling, I could understand why they don't hire an agent because they don't want to pay the commission. But buying, it does not make sense to have no agent. You have
buying
to have one.
buying agents are getting paid by the seller.
Yeah,
So why wouldn't you hire
absolutely.
to
There
represent
is no cost to you at all.
Right. So sorry, I just had to say this. So and the one thing that's very, very important about condos might not be so much about yes, I do think that you should get, if you've never bought anything before, you should always get
And home inspection.
inspector, yeah. But also more importantly, there's something called the status report that people don't know unless they've actually been in the industry or they've lived in a condo. So, and some people who even own condos forget that there is such a thing. So
Yeah.
status report will actually give you, it's a big binder usually, or if it's online now, but it gives you all the information about the condo corporation. And it's very important because if there is, let's say you buy a condo and the maintenance fee is there, but you don't read the status report, you might not see that there's a special assessment that might be an extra few $100s a month that is not written anywhere until you are the owner. And then they say, oh, well, you have an extra $400, $500 for the windows that we put in last year, and you have to pay for it. So this is why you always want proper representation, and you always want to get that status report so you can see everything that you have to see before to make that right decision.
For sure.
There's so many issues with condos that we can't, even inspectors can't see. There's plumbing issues. There is HVAC issues. Even if it's brand new build, don't ever go in with your eyes closed. Like, this is something you have to ask a million questions, and using a buying agent to help you with that, I guarantee you'll have a better understanding of all of it before you even put an offer in.
For sure. Okay, so in summary, there's basically two things. You can either live in a condo, use it as a stepping stone if you are hoping to buy something else, even for an investment, or your kids, so they can in 2-3 years have maybe the down payment that they need to buy what they want. Also, if you are thinking about investing, make sure that you look at your finances first and see what strategy you're looking at. Maybe investing in new builds, and you want to rent it. Maybe you want to use it as an Airbnb. Make sure that you check with the condo corporation if that's allowed. And so all of those things. So, but there is always a way to do it. Just have a plan and just go for it. That's just my opinion. So
yeah, and have a plan B. Plan B doesn't hurt too.
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Colette, for giving us a little bit more insight on.
Yeah, thank you. I love
you,
this. I think this is great information for everybody. And we always like to do this because we're answering questions from somebody who actually asked the question. And if one person has a question, there's probably many people who want that answer.
Absolutely. So please bring your questions. If you want to know more about condos or anything like that, or any other market, just let us know. We really would like to give you the information so you can make a better decision. So we're here for you, and we'll see you next week. Bye, Colette.
Thanks for joining us.